Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the first episode of the Dark Horde. This is Manny Moonraker coming to you from UFO Buster Radio Network. It is my first episode for this particular podcast, and the idea here basically is going to be that we're going to investigate the paranormal. We're going to interview folks who are dealing with the investigation and research of the paranormal, but we're also going to bring in some authors, individual, independent providers, creators, folks that do this just because they want to know, folks that want to research this like myself. The idea came just from just a thought, basically, that I've had recurring for many years, that in dealing with UFOs, aliens, and so forth, that there's a possibility that these things could be connected in some way or another. Whether one produces the other, we don't know. They're just, there isn't enough conversation in that arena to figure that out. But that is one of the things that we're going to explore on the Dark Horde podcast. And if you haven't already, go ahead over to Twitter, if you are a tweethead, and get on to the Dark Horde. Follow it, especially if you're promoting your research or work. If you use the hashtag Dark Horde, you can use that in order to have our Dark One Twitter bot pick up your story. So if you're doing research or you're promoting a book, that's where you want to go. We also have a Facebook page for the Dark Horde, but that's just the beginning, because here locally in Texas, there is so many issues, incidents, events, situations dealing with the paranormal that it just begs to be researched from a different lens. So no, when you're listening to the Dark Horde podcast, you're not going to get the usual scary story, a gloomy sound in the background. What you're going to get is my opinion, how I see things. Once in a while, we'll get an interview on here, and we'll listen to folks who actively research this topic. Folks that go out there into abandoned buildings, that go into the middle of the woods and record EVPs or use ghost boxes in order to get an answer from the other side. Now, I'm not gonna lie to you up front. There's gonna be some research on my part. I'm trying to get a group together to go out here locally in Texas to just investigate things. Take things that people have talked about for decades and go out there and see if they get the same reaction, if they see the same things, hear the same things, feel the same things. And we're gonna go ahead and use the usual tools, involve the paranormal, and see, record, play it for you here on the podcast, and eventually on YouTube. Maybe shoot a documentary within the next 2 years. I don't know where it's going to take me, but I know that I have an interest in the paranormal that's been with me since childhood. And something that, after spending almost 4 years on UFO Buster Radio exploring aliens and ET and space and science, the paranormal side, the side that goes bump in the night, that scares you, that makes your skin crawl, that's the side that will be part of the Dark Horde podcast. The other thing you're not going to find in many other podcasts regarding this topic is that I like to break things up with a little music. Because, I'm paying for it, right? I might as well pay it. So, why not? So before we get started in today's comparisons between EVPs and ghost box recordings, I'm going to go ahead and play the first song for you guys. Get ready for this comparison. So the topic for today really has to do with two techniques that people use in order to hear voices from the other side. You know, the guys that have passed on. There are always going to be links within the description to each podcast episode in case you guys want to actually go out and check these out for yourself. I feel it's important that you don't just listen to me. You don't just listen to the folks on cable, the guys on YouTube. You should listen to these things yourselves, just like I did. So I picked two examples of two different types of, disembodied voices that you can listen to on your own. The two techniques that are very popular are the spirit box and EVP, or electronic voice phenomenon. Now, the first one we're going to tackle, thanks to the folks at the Paranormal Task Force. And like I said, their link is in the description if you want to go check out their EVP recordings. And basically what an EVP is an electronic recording that in many ways people interpret that the spirit voices are somewhat coming through, whether unintentionally or intentionally upon request. And you see that all the time on cable channels and specials where they'll ask, can you hear me? Are you here? Were you the one that got shot? Yeah, whatever it is. They ask the questions and somebody fucking answers, and they interpret that as being an answer from the other side, basically. Now, a lot of folks think that we interpret or we kind of project ourselves into that EVP, and we hear things like somebody might listen to it and hear something completely muddled. They might hear some static, and then other people who are projecting what they want to hear. They will hear words and phrases and things like that. One of the things that this article is going to enlighten people on is that a parapsychologist, Konstantīns, I guess if you want to get fancy about it, he popularized the idea back in the 70s, and he described EVPs as typically being brief. So you're not going to get a dissertation on the fact that there's people on the other side who are trying to get through for eons. You're not going to get a laundry list of things you need to do in your personal life. It's usually going to be like one word or a very short phrase. The two examples that I have, one of them is, I guess, popular. A lot of people should know this. For example, by example one, it was something that was captured at a place called the Packer Grill at the University of Colorado. In this particular EVP, situation, should I say, the young lady died while she was waiting to pay for her breakfast. The specific audio clip that we are going to listen to was captured back in April of 2000. Now, again, it's an EVP, so it's going to be short, but you will see a bit of a difference in between the quality of these two types of recordings. But here's the first EVP. I'm going to play that for you one more time because for the love of Pete. Now, I can tell you this from my own experience and listening for years. I have no idea what the fuck that EVP is saying. I'll be honest with you. EVPs are not my favorite thing. Not in one bit. That particular EVP, it made no sense to me at all. The second EVP we're going to listen to was actually recorded by someone anonymously who claimed that this EVP recording was of JonBenet Ramsey. JonBenet, who died December 25th of 1996. For those of you who don't know, she was a child beauty queen who was killed at the age of 6 in her family's home in Boulder, Colorado. There was a bit of a handwritten ransom note left in the house. The rest, as they say, is history. But someone anonymously dropped this particular EVP on the Paranormal Task Force, and they claim to have recorded the voice of young JonBenet. So let's see what that sounds like.
Who hurt you? Was it your mom or your dad?
Completely odd. It's really hard to tell what it is she's saying. Of course, everyone's wanting to know what the answer to that really was, as far as who actually was the one who caused JonBenet to cross to the other side. But let's listen to that one more time.
Who hurt you? Was it your mom or your dad?
So it's important to know that a lot of these EVPs, what happens is that folks go through with like, let's say an MP3 recorder, and they pick up all these things as they're recording. The ideal location will have no background noise, no one else speaking, not a bunch of electronic stuff around them. But if that was the case, then we did hear something on this particular recording. But again, the things with EVPs, it is extremely difficult for you to really get an understanding of what's being said or what the message is. Now, I've seen EVP recordings on television or on specials that are a lot better than these. It's very possible that the age of these or the fact that I got them off the internet and not off of the actual device, that it might have caused some degradation in the signal. Not really sure. It makes no sense to me. The other type of recording, which you guys can probably already tell that I have my own feelings towards, as far as it being of better quality and that you will actually get a better answer, comes from SOS Paranormal out of Connecticut. We're going to listen to 2 spirit box or ghost box recordings, and we'll let them speak for themselves. The first one was recorded on October 3rd, 2015, in a room of a schoolhouse in Wareham, Massachusetts. The question that's being asked is, can you try crisscrossing the rods again? Here's the recording from the ghost box.
Can you try crisscrossing the rods again?
Big difference. Big difference from the EVPs. Let's try that one more time.
Can you try crisscrossing the rods again?
The answer, which was pretty clear, was yes. The difference between these two methods is that a spirit box is a device that is used for contacting spirits. However, what it does is that it sweeps through radio signals. The radio signals can be either AM or FM, and they move at a very, very rapid rate of speed. The idea is that a spirit or ghost will manipulate the energy, and these audio fragments will be put together to form words to answer questions. What's cool about this is that because you're not necessarily listening to a disembodied voice, a spirit voice, you're listening to audio that is coming from some signal somewhere that this particular entity is manipulating to answer questions. So the audio comes back a bit more clear. The second example that we have, also recorded on 10/3/2015 from the Fearing Tavern, also in Wareham, Massachusetts, in what they call the rocking chair room. The question on this particular one is, have you deliberately chosen to remain here? Let's listen to that right now.
Have you deliberately chosen to remain here?
The voice says no. That was the answer. They haven't chosen to be there. They were there for some reason, but not because they wanted to. So let's listen to that one more time for Pete's sake.
Have you deliberately chosen to remain here?
Those are the two. Check out the links in the description. Both of these sites have a lot of links to EVPs and ghost box recordings. From my research initially, and actually from what I've seen before, my preference is the ghost box. All the way, the spirit box really is the way to go. And the way that it kind of lends to a lot of different ways of experimenting and using different techniques in order to really show that you're getting something unusual, something that could be paranormal. Check out this track. We'll be right back. So I kind of played around with doing this as a pre-recorded podcast. I've gotten used to doing a live podcast for so long that it is really difficult for me to sit down and try to put together a pre-recorded product because I like having that live interaction with folks. So going forward, the podcast will continue to be live. So you guys should tune into the Dark Horde as the Warden has. What's up, Warden? Right now, live on Spreaker.com. Eventually, the podcast will grow and move into other areas, other podcast hosting platforms like iTunes, Stitcher, iHeart, and things like that. But at the moment, we have to kind of got to set that baseline for what we're doing. Like I said before, the paranormal is always there. It's always lurking. It's in your family's history. It's in those stories of the past from your parents, your grandparents, your great-grandparents. There is something paranormal in their experiences, and I kind of bet that there's something in yours as well. I personally have had a lot of experiences in the paranormal growing up, and as the story goes, the older you get, the more you tend to lose connection with those things. The Dark Horde Podcast is here to help me get that connection again, to go out and investigate some of the creepiest, scariest, and maybe even some of the most well-known scary situations in your neck of the woods. Like I said, don't forget to follow the podcast. Follow on Twitter at Horde Dark or The Dark Horde. If you are an independent creator, writer, join The Dark Horde. Publish your works. You can use it to advertise, but also consider coming on. I would love nothing more than to interview not only local paranormal researchers here in Texas, but also around the world. And I guarantee you, eventually, we will get there. We will get to be that podcast, researching and speaking to folks, not just in the U.S., but in other countries. I thank you guys for coming in today and being part of the first Dark Horde podcast. This will be a weekly podcast. Every week I'm going to bring you a new story. Whether it be from here from Texas or it'll be from New York or China, Germany, Australia, it will come from somewhere. And hopefully it'll help you think about this, get a different perspective. And if you feel like you like UFOs, why not plug the other podcast, right? Come on over to UFO Buster Radio, also on Spreaker, but also available in every freaking platform you can think of. From Spotify, iHeart, Stitcher, Spreaker, iTunes, and the list goes on and on. The two are intertwined because from my perspective, the paranormal, UFOs and aliens, there's a connection. Might not be apparent for everyone, but there's something there that binds those two things together. I'll check you guys out next week. I'll be back.